to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, a place where you can gently set down the weight of the day and drift with ease into a world of quiet wonder as tonight you journey into the night of 1,000 candles. For now, simply let yourself arrive. You can rest where you are, cozy and supported. Feel the surface beneath your body holding you as if it is perfectly shaped to cradle every curve, every tired muscle. Take a slow, soft breath in through your nose, letting the air be cool and gentle. And then let it go, unhurried, as though the day is flowing out with it, dissolving into the darkness beyond your room. Again, breathe in. Let your chest rise just a little, and breathe out with a quiet sigh. If that feels good, your shoulders melting downward. If your eyes are not yet closed, you might allow them to soften, lids heavy, as if warm evening light is resting on them. You do not need to do anything now. There is nowhere you must be, nothing you must solve. In your mind's eye, you begin to sense a village tucked between low rolling hills and a wide, peaceful river where lanterns swing on gentle breezes and cobblestone streets glow softly like starlight scattered across the earth. Tonight, in that village, something magical is about to unfold. A secret celebration held only once each year, when countless candles are lit and their light floats into the night like a promise. As you rest here, you are invited only to listen, to imagine as much or as little as you wish. If your thoughts drift, that is perfectly all right. The story will keep flowing like a quiet river, carrying you along. Take one more easy breath in and out, and let the story begin. In a small riverside village, nestled in a valley where the hills rose like gentle waves around it, the night had a soft and expectant hush. The cobblestones still held the last faint warmth of the day, and the air was sweet with the scent of honey cakes, orange peel, and a hint of wood smoke drifting from low chimneys. This was the evening the villagers had waited for all year, the night of 1,000 candles, when the darkness itself seemed to lean close and listen. At the very edge of the village, in a cottage with blue shutters and a crooked chimney, lived a candle maker named Elian. His hands were steady, his touch patient, and his eyes held the calm of someone who understood the language of small, flickering flames. On his shelves, rows of candles waited, tall and slender, stout and sturdy, some carved with curling vines, others plain and smooth, as if they were still deciding what kind of light they would give. Elian had spent many evenings preparing for this night. He had poured beeswax, stirred fragrant oils, and dipped wicks again and again, while the sun slid down behind the hills and the stars grew bolder. With each candle, he whispered a quiet hope. Not a wish for riches or fame, but a hope that when the candle was lit, someone's heart would soften, someone's worry would ease, someone's sorrow would feel a little less heavy. The village believed that on this night, any light offered with kindness would be noticed, by whom no one could say for certain. Some said it was the river spirit who carried reflections downstream and into distant seas. Others said it was the sky itself, which gathered every glimmer and turned them into new stars. Elian did not mind the mystery. He only knew that when the candles burned together, the world felt gentler. Outside, the sky was turning the color of deep velvet, streaked with the last fading blush of sunset. Children hurried past his cottage with baskets of small glass jars, laughing softly so as not to disturb the quiet that seemed to be settling over the village. Old friends leaned in doorways, shawls wrapped around their shoulders, speaking in murmurs, saving their louder conversations for another time. Even the river seemed to hush, its usual chatter fading into a slow and rhythmic whisper along the stones. Inside his workshop, Elian tied the last bundle of candles with a length of soft, twine-colored ribbon. He set them into a wide wicker basket lined with folded cloth and paused for a moment, listening to his own breath, in and out. The rhythm matched the steady pulse of the world beyond his walls. On a small shelf near the window sat a single candle unlike the others. Its wax was a pale, shimmering gold, and tiny flecks within it caught the light like distant constellations. This was the candle Elian made for himself each year. He did not always light it. Sometimes it waited year after year until the moment felt right. He lifted it now and held it in both hands. The wick was still untouched, as straight and white as a line of fresh snow drawn through the air. Elian thought of all the nights behind him, all the days that had led to this one. There had been easy days and difficult ones, bright mornings and heavy afternoons, quiet joys and secret worries. He breathed in, feeling their weight and their softness, and then breathed out, letting them settle. With the gold candle tucked carefully into the basket, Elian stepped out into the night. The village square was already beginning to glow. Strings of small paper lanterns hung overhead, swaying gently, each one painted with simple, tender images. A sprig of lavender, a crescent moon, a tiny boat on a calm sea. Beneath them, tables had been set up with clay cups and steaming kettles, pots of herbal tea, releasing fragrant curls of steam into the cool air. At the center of the square stood a stone fountain. On this night, the water had been turned off, and the wide basin was dry, ready to hold the first candles. Around it, people moved slowly, their footfalls softened by the moss growing between the stones. No one hurried. There was time enough for everything. Elian set his basket down beside the fountain. Neighbors approached him one by one, hands wrapped in woolen gloves or bare and warm from holding cups of tea. Each person chose a candle, holding it as if it were something delicate and precious. Some smiled with quiet gratitude. Some bowed their heads for a moment, as if listening for a thought they could not quite put into words. Across the square, a young woman named Mira watched the scene unfold. She lived in a small attic room above the bakery, where each morning the smell of fresh bread crept beneath her door like a friendly whisper. Mira had always loved the night of 1,000 candles, but this year she felt a gentle ache beneath her ribs, a feeling she could not easily name. The days had been full and busy. There had been work and small tasks, conversations and errands, but somewhere along the way, a kind of quiet longing had settled in her chest. She did not long for anything grand, not adventures across distant lands or towering achievements. She longed for something simple, a sense that she was exactly where she needed to be, exactly who she was meant to be, without the constant rustle of doubt. She wrapped a soft scarf more snugly around her neck and made her way to Elian's basket. The candles were arranged in gentle rows, their wax smooth and slightly warm from the day's lingering heat. Her fingers hovered above them, drawn first to one, then another, until at last her hand settled on a candle touched with faint spirals carved into its sides, like the patterns left by waves on sand. Elian watched her choose, his eyes kind. He did not ask what she hoped for. On this night, hopes were quiet and personal, like secrets shared with the stars. He only nodded, as if to say that whatever she carried in her heart was welcome here. Mira cradled the candle as she walked away, feeling its small, solid weight. She found a space near the fountain and knelt on the smooth stone rim. All around her, more villagers gathered, each with their own candle, each with their own quiet story, woven into the wax they held. A bell sounded low and gentle from the tower near the river. Its tone spread outward over rooftops and fields, into the hush of the hills. At the first ring, everyone grew still. At the second, a deep calm settled over the square. At the third, the candle lighting began. From a lantern set beside the fountain, an elder of the village lifted a single flame. Her hands were steady, her hair silver, her eyes bright and calm. She lit the candle of the person beside her, and that person turned to share the flame with another and another, until the light spread in slow, thoughtful ripples through the crowd. When the small flame reached Mira's wick, it caught with a soft, whispering sound. The candle bloomed to life, a tiny golden flower opening in the dark. The glow warmed the inside of the glass jar in her hands, turning it into a little world of light. For a moment, Mira watched the flame. It bent and straightened with the movements of the air, but it did not falter. She felt something inside her respond, a small steadiness rising from beneath the layers of her thoughts. Around the square, the first candles were placed onto the dry stones of the fountain basin. One by one, little islands of light appeared, scattered like fallen stars. The villagers moved carefully, steps slow, voices hushed, as if they were helping the night remember its gentler side. Elian stood toward the back of the gathering, the golden candle still resting safely in his basket. He liked to wait, to watch how the first lights changed the space around them. Shadows softened, faces grew more peaceful. Lines of worry smoothed as the glow reached them. He found a spot near the fountain and finally lifted the golden candle. Its wax gleamed in the growing light, catching the reflections of the flames all around it. Elian thought of the countless evenings he had spent at his bench, the quiet time when the village was winding down, and he was alone with wax and wick. He thought of the comfort that came from small repetitive motions, from creating something with his hands that might one day bring someone calm. Holding that thought, he touched his candle's wick to the flame of a nearby lantern. The fire caught quickly, as if it had been waiting. The flecks within the wax brightened, and for a heartbeat, it seemed the candle held a piece of the night sky within it. As the basin filled with candles, the fountain was transformed. Where water usually danced and sparkled, now light gathered in a gentle pool, flickering and shifting with every breath of wind. The flames leaned toward one another as if in conversation, their reflections weaving together on the smooth stone. Children watched with wide eyes, their usual restlessness replaced by something like awe. They held their own jars carefully, waiting for the moment when the candles would begin their journey to the river. For that was the next part of the tradition. Once the fountain was filled with light, each person would take their candle, walk calmly to the water's edge, and set it afloat. The river would carry the lights downstream, past fields and forests, until they were no more than far away, shimmering dots swallowed by the distance. When the time came, Mira rose from her place by the fountain and lifted her jar. The candle within it burned steadily, its carved spirals glowing softly. Around her, others did the same, and together they began to walk toward the river. The path to the water was lined with low stone walls, their tops covered in patches of moss that felt soft under gentle fingertips. Tall grasses bowed under the touch of the night breeze, and the air was filled with a blend of scents: cool water, damp earth, and the faint sweetness of beeswax and smoke. The river lay ahead, a broad, slow ribbon of darkness. Its surface reflected the sky above, where early stars had begun to appear. From time to time, a fish disturbed the water with a small ripple, but otherwise it lay quiet, as if it too were waiting for the candles. By the riverbank, the villagers spaced themselves without needing to speak. Each person found a spot that felt right, a small patch of earth or smooth rock at the edge of the water. Quiet murmurs passed among them, not conversations so much as soft threads of connection, a greeting, a gentle comment about the beauty of the night, a shared memory of past celebrations. Mira knelt on a flat stone and held the jar close, watching how the candle's light played on her hands. She could see tiny lines across her palms, soft shadows between her fingers. The flame lit her face from below, and in its glow her eyes seemed deeper, as if they held their own secret stars. She closed her eyes for a moment and listened. The river's whisper, the distant hoot of an owl in the trees, the soft, overlapping sounds of breathing all around her. In that quiet, her earlier longing rose again. Not sharp, not painful, just present. A gentle ache that said, "I am here." She did not push it away this time, and instead she imagined placing it into the candle, letting the flame hold it for her. She thought of the parts of herself that felt uncertain, the questions she carried without clear answers. Am I on the right path? Am I doing enough? Am I enough just as I am? Each question became a small thread of warmth, gently offered to the light. The candle did not change, did not grow brighter or dimmer, but something within her loosened, like a knot softly untangling. Around her, the first candles were set on the water. One by one, glass jars touched the river's surface with a soft clink. The current caught them and drew them slowly away, their reflections doubling, then blurring as the water moved. A hush fell even deeper over the crowd as more lights began to drift, forming a slow-moving constellation on the river. The village behind them was now only a shadow, its edges softened as if the candles carried the sharpness of the world into gentler shapes. Elian stood a little distance downstream, his golden candle glowing inside a simple jar. He loved this part of the night, when the river became a pathway of light, and everyone's thoughts seemed to move in the same quiet direction. He could almost feel the collective exhale of the village as each candle left its owner's hands. When he was ready, he knelt and lowered his own jar toward the water. He thought of the hopes he had poured into the wax as he made it. Small, wordless wishes for ease, for comfort, for rest. He thought of all the nights when someone somewhere in the village had lit one of his candles and found a little more peace in its glow. With careful hands, he set the jar upon the surface. For a heartbeat, it rocked, catching and releasing tiny reflections, and then it steadied, the current drawing it gently onward. The flecks within the wax glittered like tiny stars, and for a moment, Elian imagined the candle recognized the river, that it was glad to be traveling at last. Mira watched as her own candle began its journey. She had placed the jar in the water with a soft touch, fingers lingering for a breath before letting go. Now she traced its path with her eyes, following it as it drifted past reeds and pebbled shallows, joining the wider flow of lights. The candles gathered into loose clusters and then drifted apart again, like friends who came together for a time and then each followed their own path. Some moved more quickly, carried by subtle currents. Others lagged behind, swirling gently in small eddies. Yet each one continued its journey, unwavering in its quiet glow. As the river filled with light, the night itself seemed to change. The air felt softer, as if the darkness had grown kind. The hills surrounding the village became quiet guardians, watching over the scene with patient calm. Above, the first pale streak of the Milky Way appeared, stretching across the sky like a luminous path, mirroring the one below. People began to settle onto blankets spread on the grass, or lean against the trunks of trees. Some pairs sat shoulder to shoulder, sharing warmth. Others curled up alone, wrapped in cloaks, content simply to watch. No one felt the need to speak much now. The candles were saying everything that needed to be said. In the stillness, a soft awareness unfolded in many hearts, a sense that they were part of something larger and gentler than the troubles that sometimes pressed in during the day. The river carried the lights onward, but it also seemed to carry away worries, smoothing them down like stones worn round by time. Mira lay back on the grass, her hands folded loosely over her chest. The cool blades brushed against her neck, and the scent of night flowers drifted around her. She gazed up at the sky, where stars now shone more fully, their light subtle but steady. She thought of how the candles were reflections of those stars, or perhaps the stars were reflections of the candles. It did not really matter which was true. In the quiet space between those thoughts, she felt a deep, spreading calm. The questions in her heart did not vanish, but they softened. They no longer demanded answers. Instead, they became gentle companions, willing to wait, to unfold slowly over time like petals, opening at their own pace. Nearby, Elian sat on a low rock, hands resting loosely on his knees. He watched the golden candle as far as he could until it became just another small light among many. Then he closed his eyes and listened to the river's voice. It spoke in patterns only he could fully hear, shaped by years of standing at its edge during this night. He heard reassurance in the steady flow, patience in the constant, unhurried movement. He felt his own breath fall into rhythm with it, slow and deep, as if the river and his lungs had quietly agreed to move together. As the evening deepened, the candles drifted farther down the river until they were no longer bright shapes, but soft, distant glows. The villagers felt their eyelids grow heavier, their bodies more relaxed. For some, it had been a long day of preparation and anticipation. For others, it had been a long year full of changes and unknowns. But here on the riverbank, under the watchful hills and the gentle sky, none of that felt overwhelming. It was simply part of the tapestry, threads woven between moments of peace like this one. A mild breeze moved through the trees, rustling leaves in a soothing hush. The lanterns in the square, now behind them, swayed slightly, their light dimming but still warm. If anyone looked back, they would see the village resting as if it too were taking a deep and restful breath. Some people began to drift homeward, walking slowly along the path, their footsteps soft on the earth. They carried with them the memory of the floating lights, a calm that would follow them into their sleep. Curtains would be drawn, blankets pulled up, and one by one, windows would go dark. Mira stayed a while longer, feeling the earth beneath her like a vast, steady hand. She knew she would eventually rise and return to her little attic room above the bakery, where the faint scent of flour and sugar lingered even at night. She imagined herself climbing the stairs, opening the familiar door, and slipping beneath her blankets, the memory of the candles still shimmering behind her closed eyes. Elian, too, pictured his own return home. He would place the empty basket by his workbench, set the remaining unlit candles in careful rows, and wash the traces of wax from his hands. Perhaps he would brew a cup of tea and sit by the window for a while, watching the last hints of candlelight fade along the river's distant curve. In time, the river would be dark again. The candles burned down or carried so far they were no longer visible. But their light would remain in quiet ways, in softened hearts and calmer thoughts, in dreams that unfolded with less hurry and more gentleness. The night of 1,000 candles was never meant to be grand or loud. It was a simple reminder, renewed each year, that even the smallest lights could make the darkness feel like a friend, that each person's quiet hope mattered, even if it was never spoken aloud. The hills held the village in their slow, unchanging embrace. The river flowed on as it always had and always would, patient and untroubled. Above, the stars watched with their distant warmth. And all across the village, behind closed doors and shuttered windows, people began to drift into sleep, their breathing deep and even, their minds resting in the soft glow of remembered candles. Now the story rests, like the last ember in a hearth, warm and quiet. The village with its river and hills can fade gently to the edges of your thoughts, as if you are stepping away along a soft path, knowing you could return whenever you wish. Feel the surface beneath you again, steady and supportive. Notice how your body has grown heavier in a comfortable way, as if the earth itself is holding you with patient arms. Your breath moves in slow waves, in and out, like the river beneath the candles. With each exhale, you can let go a little more, the way each candle let go of the shore and trusted the current to carry it. If any thoughts arise, you do not need to chase them away. They can simply drift past like small boats on water, moving gently onward, leaving the space within you wide and calm. The night around you is safe. You are wrapped in your own quiet light, soft and steady. There is nothing you must do, no task you must complete, only this breath, this moment of rest. As your eyes grow heavier, you may imagine one last candle deep within your chest, its flame tiny and peaceful. It does not burn hot. It glows softly, a warm and constant presence. It asks nothing of you. It only offers comfort. Let your body sink a little deeper into stillness. Let your jaw loosen, your shoulders fall. Let your hands lie where they are, relaxed and easy. The world can wait. Your thoughts can soften. Sleep is drawing near, patient and kind, like a quiet river under starlight. Allow yourself to drift now, floating on calm, unhurried waves of rest. If sleep comes, welcome it. If you linger at the edge for a while, that is all right too. You are safe in this gentle darkness. Good night, dear traveler. May your dreams be soft and luminous, like the night of 1,000 candles. Sleep well.